An arrogant businessman held up an envelope filled with strange symbols and sneered in front of everyone. "I'll give my entire salary to whoever translates this." No one took it seriously until an unseen woman in the office stepped forward. What she revealed changed the course of $1 million inheritance and the lives of everyone in the place.
If you like real stories of overcoming, justice, and change, subscribe to the channel, like it, and activate the bell, because what you're about to hear will give you goosebumps. The clock struck 8 in the morning when the glass doors of the mirrored building opened. Men in ties and women in heels hurried through the lobby, flashing expensive cell phones and giving off looks of superiority. On the top floor of the skyscraper was Marcelo Albuquerque, 45, a millionaire businessman and owner of an export company in Belo Horizonte. His suits cost more than the annual salary of many of his employees. For Marcelo, there were only two types of people: the important and the invisible. And it was precisely in Marcelo's path that was Helena Martinez, 40 years old, pushing a worn-out cleaning cart. 2 years of service in that office, and no one even knew her last name. To some, she was just the coffee girl. To others, not even that. When Marcelo saw her in the hallway, he pushed her cart roughly, almost knocking her over. "Get out of the way, woman! Important people can't waste their time with you!" Helena lowered her head, murmured "Sorry, sir," and leaned against the wall as if apologizing for existing. She wasn't seen as a person. To everyone, she was just part of the furniture. No one there knew that Helena had ever been a university professor, an official translator of Eastern European languages. Her entire brilliant career had been overshadowed by the need to support her sick teenage daughter and her unemployed husband. In the eyes of the elite who hurried past, she was just another unimportant cleaning lady. But that day, the invisible woman was about to become a giant.
The morning was uneventful until the postman brought a thick envelope with Hungarian stamps and official signatures. The addressee was clear: Marcelo Albuquerque. Curious and impatient, he tore open the package in front of the secretary, Clara, 33 years old, spreading out several pages on the table in a language full of strange symbols. "What the hell is this? Language from another planet?" he complained, irritated. Clara approached, read it carefully, and murmured, "Sir, it appears to be Hungarian." Marcelo burst out laughing. "Hungarian? Who in Brazil speaks Hungarian? This must be an international scam." He threw the papers on the table, but Clara noticed numbers and amounts in euros. "Sir, this might be important," he warned. Marcelo's laughter ceased for a few seconds. His gaze ran over the pages, but nothing made sense. His helplessness turned to rage. He ordered Clara to call translators. Phones rang non-stop. No company could find someone available to speak the language that day. The clock ticked down, and Marcelo pounded the table, his face growing red with fury. "It's not possible! A city with millions of inhabitants, and no one translates half a dozen documents?" he shouted. The buzz spread. Curious employees gathered. Some tried translation apps on their phones, laughing at the nonsensical phrases. Others scoffed, making up strange words. The office, which should have been a serious one, became a laughingstock, and in the middle, Marcelo was seething with rage, at a loss for a solution. until, overcome with arrogance, he raised the papers and shouted, "Listen up! I'll give my entire month's salary to whoever translates this right now. 50,000 reals to the genius who solves this crap." The office burst into laughter. "For that price, I can learn any language in 10 minutes, an employee scoffed. And everyone laughed even harder. But the answer was just a few feet away, invisible to their eyes.
Marcello walked around the room with the papers in his hand, fueling the laughter around him. 50,000 reais! Who would risk earning that in one day? The audience of salespeople and secretaries laughed loudly, fueling his inflated ego. This was how he enjoyed himself, displaying his power at the expense of humiliating others. Until his eyes fixed on Helena Martins, standing in the hallway with the cleaning cart. Her blue uniform was faded. Her face was tired. Marcello smiled cruelly. "And you, bucket girl, do you want to try too?" The collective laughter exploded even louder. It was the perfect opportunity to turn the cleaning lady into a target of ridicule. Helena swallowed hard. 2 years of humiliation weighed heavily on her memory. Their eyes laughed at her, waiting to see her back down. To them, it was just a joke. To her, it was her entire life being trampled upon all over again. A sales employee, Paul, didn't miss the chance to mock. "The cleaning lady will speak Hungarian. I want to see this comedy." Marcello laughed, almost crying. "Show off your hidden talent, darling. It'll be fun." It was a spectacle of cruelty disguised as defiance. But instead of backing away, Helena took a deep breath. Her previously subdued eyes now shone with something new, determination. She took a step forward, lifted her chin, and said firmly, "Yes, sir, I can translate." The entire room froze. For the first time, no one laughed. The silence was heavy. Marcello, in disbelief, held out the papers as if handing a toy to a child. "Okay, Genie, let's see the magic happen." The laughter still echoed, but now faint. There was something strange about the way Helena held those documents. It wasn't fear. It was conviction. She scanned the pages, recognizing every word. Suddenly, she began reading in fluent Hungarian. The perfect pronunciation echoed through the hall. The laughter ceased instantly. The mocking faces turned to expressions of astonishment. This wasn't pretense. This was real knowledge. Marcello turned pale. Are you really reading this?" stammered. Helena remained calm. "Yes, sir. It says, 'Dear Mr. Marcello Albuquerque, we inform you of the inheritance left by your uncle, Miklos Albuquerque, who passed away in Budapest on March 10th of this year.'" The shock was immediate. She continued, "Your uncle left an inheritance worth 15 million euros, including properties in Budapest and a bank account. You are the only living heir, but you must confirm this by 6 p.m. today." The weight of the information fell upon everyone. Almost 60 million reais were at stake. Helena then carefully closed the documents and declared, "These documents aren't a scam.
They're real. And if you don't respond in time, you'll lose everything. The clock read 3:30 in the afternoon. Time was running out. And for the first time, the millionaire businessman trembled before the invisible woman.
Marcelo was stunned. The man who had been laughing at the cleaning lady a few minutes ago was now sweating coldly in front of her. How do you know that language?" he stammered, unable to believe what he saw. Helena looked up firmly and answered calmly, "Because I am not just what you think. Before coming here, I was a university professor, an official translator, and a specialist in Eastern European languages. I worked in this field for over 15 years." The entire hall remained silent, as if time had stopped. Clara, the secretary, opened her mouth in astonishment. "Teacher? Here?" Helena nodded. "Yes, but when I exposed the corruption scheme at the university, I lost everything. I was fired, defamed, and no one would hire me anymore. My husband lost his job, and my 16-year-old daughter requires constant medical treatment for diabetes. I took the first job that came along. That's how I ended up here." Her words fell like stones on the hearts of every person present. The employees, who minutes before were laughing at the situation, now lowered their eyes, embarrassed. Paul, the salesman who had mocked, bit his lip in silence. Even Clara, accustomed to Marcelo's outbursts of rage, seemed shaken by the revelation. The entire office seemed small compared to the invisible greatness Helena had hidden for so long. Marcelo was still trying to hold on. But you're making it up. What if it's not like that?" Helena didn't lose her cool. She took her old cell phone out of her pocket, dialed a number, and spoke in Hungarian for a few minutes. She hung up and announced, "I just confirmed with the Hungarian consulate. The documents are authentic, sent by a Budapest law firm. The inheritance is real, Mr. Marcelo, and it's up to us to respond in time." A heavy silence spread through the room. Marcelo stared at Helena as if it were the first time he had seen her. The woman he had always treated as a shadow had revealed herself to be essential. "How much do you want to continue this translation?" she asked in a trembling voice. Helena didn't hesitate. "You've already made an offer. Your monthly salary. 50,000 reais. But it's not about the money, Marcelo. It's about the respect they denied me all these years." Helena no longer trembled. The papers were firm in her hands, as if she had owned them all along. For the first time in years, she felt like she had a voice. "These documents require an immediate response. I need a computer, internet access, and silence. If anyone interferes, you can forget about the fortune." The entire office remained silent, waiting for Marcelo's reaction. The arrogant man, accustomed to giving orders, swallowed hard and simply said, "Clara, free up the meeting room for her, now." As Helena walked into the room with her erect posture, the employees murmured among themselves. No one believed that this invisible woman now held the fate of $1 million inheritance. The same room that hours before had been a stage for jokes now felt like a courtroom. Curious and embarrassed glances exchanged glances in the hallways. Marcelo paced back and forth, biting his nails, growing more nervous than before. 60 million reals at stake, and they depend on her, he whispered to himself. Inside the meeting room, Helena typed quickly. She translated each paragraph, each legal clause, adding explanatory notes to leave no room for error. Her mind seemed to have awakened from a deep sleep. Each translated line was like recovering a part of her stolen dignity. As she wrote, she remembered her daughter Sophia and how much that money could change her life. But it wasn't just about money. It was about proving that she had never stopped being who she was. Outside, Clara tried to calm Marcelo. "Sir, trust her. She clearly knows what she's doing." But he couldn't. Pride and despair mingled in his expression. The clock ticked mercilessly. 4 in the afternoon. The deadline was 6. Every second felt like a sentence approaching. Employees discreetly peered into the room, fascinated by the cleaning lady's transformation into an expert. At 4:45, the door opened. Helena came out with an organized folder, firm steps, and eyes that no longer trembled. She placed the papers on Marcelo's desk and said, "Everything is ready. Complete translation and response written in Hungarian. If you send it now, the inheritance will be guaranteed." Marcelo took the documents with trembling hands. He read the pages and was speechless. There was no doubt it was impeccable work. The silence that followed was of respect. The invisible woman had taken control of the story.
Marcelo personally ran to the express post office to ensure the documents were sent on time. When he returned, he was sweaty but relieved. "I did it! They'll receive it in Budapest tomorrow morning," he announced. For the first time, his voice wasn't arrogant, but grateful. He looked at Helena and added, "You saved everything! Without you, I would have lost a fortune I never knew existed." The silence in the office turned to subdued applause. It wasn't of flattery, but of respect. The next day, Helena didn't show up in uniform. She entered the building in simple but elegant clothes and waited at the reception desk. Employees who had previously ignored her now greeted her by name. Marcelo arrived earlier than usual, anxious. "Helena, I've thought about your situation. I want to fulfill the promise of 50,000, but beyond that, I want to offer you a permanent position, Director of International Relations for the company, salary of 10,000 reais and full benefits." Astonishment filled the air. Helena took a deep breath. That offer meant much more than money. It was recognition of her competence, buried for so long. "I accept, but on one condition. Part of the salary goes directly to my daughter's clinic. I don't want to risk missing her treatment." Marcelo nodded without hesitation. For the first time, the man who had always despised employees treated someone with genuine consideration. Months later, the company had changed. Marcelo, transformed by the experience, created a scholarship fund for employees' children and began sharing part of the profits among the entire team. The environment was no longer marked by fear, but by cooperation. Helena, now respected, led international negotiations with firmness and elegance. And her daughter Sophia, at 16, achieved a dream, being accepted first place in her medical school class at a public university. In the meeting room, in front of everyone, Marcelo made a point of saying out loud, "3 months ago, I almost lost a fortune through arrogance. Today, I understood that the true treasure was right in front of me, and I couldn't see it. Helena didn't just translate documents. She translated my life. She taught me that dignity doesn't have a uniform, and competence doesn't depend on position." The applause that followed was sincere and emotional. The invisible woman had become the greatest of all the presences.
So, what did you think of this incredible turnaround? Leave your comment below, share this story to inspire others, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more stories like this. See you next time!